Good evening. This is Pamela, and you're listening to Watchmen on the Pot. We're going to continue in our book reading. Codeword, Barbelon, 666, Danger in the Vatican. Book 1, Sons of Loyola and Their Plans for World Domination by P.D. Stuart. We're in chapter 17. Phi Beta Kappa, literary societies, and Bill Clinton's Masonic membership. A literary society is the most proper form for the introduction of our order into any state where we are yet strangers. Adam Whitehop, Society of Jesus. Declare ye among the nations, and publish and set up a standard. Publish and conceal not. Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 2. To return to the present day, it affords a curious glimpse into methods used by the Illuminati in the advancement of its global mission to mark the words of Adam Weishaupt. A literary society, said Weishaupt, is the most proper form for the introduction of our order into any state where we are yet strangers. Soon after Weishaupt's new Illuminati was created in 1776, he wrote to a friend about the secret plans of the order in these words. The great strength of our order, the Illuminati, lies in its concealment. Let it never appear in any place in its own name, but always concealed by another name, another occupation. The form of a learned or literary society, sororities in parentheses, is best suited to our purpose, and had Freemasonry not existed, this cover would have been employed, and it may be much more than a cover. Be it a powerful engine in our hands. By establishing reading societies, book clubs, and taking these under our direction, we may turn the public mind which way we will. In like manner, we must try to obtain an influence in the military academies. This may be of mighty consequence. It's in parentheses. A literary society is the most proper form for the introduction of our order into any state where we are yet strangers. In parentheses, mark this fact. Now, this is important. Weishaupt and his collaborators devised to set up learned literary societies as a front for their purpose. Does history record any learned secret literary society formed at or around 1776? And if so, does it continue on to this day? Did Weishaupt's literary societies survive beyond the 18th century? I invite the reader to consider closely the orders known as the Crown and Dagger, Seven Societies, Phi Beta Kappa Society, Scroll and Key, and Skull and Bones, the latter of which we say a great deal more later on. Consider also the lesser-known Bull's Blood secret society at Rutgers University, known as Lodge 443, established in 1834 by Frederick P. Frauenhausen, William A. Newell, and Joseph Filio Bradley, a former justice of the United States Supreme Court. Other interesting literary societies of high academia can be found at the renowned Leland Stanford University, founded by Senator Leland Stanford in 1891. According to Albert C. Stevens, Senator Leland Stanford was himself a Freemason. Today, Stanford Society has 15 literary fraternities, including the following: Alpha Epsilon Pi, Alpha Delta Phi Society, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity, Delta Kappa Epsilon, Delta Upsilon, and the Beta Chi chapter of Sigma Nu, which was instituted at Stanford University in November 1891. A chapter was formed at the University of California, Berkeley the following year. These orders or societies are part of the Ivy League of American universities. Dogs are barking. Nothing. Okay. Let's see. These orders or societies are part of the Ivy League of American universities and were formed as literary societies soon after 1776. This, you will recall, is exactly what Weishaupt said he would use as one of the mediums for gaining access to the elite of society, as well as future statesmen. A literary society is the most proper form for the introduction of our order. The goal was to monopolize all institutions of higher learning and by these means subvert the mind of the people. The Catholic Encyclopedia confirms as much. The purpose of this and other regulations are to enable the order, the Illuminati, to attain its object by securing for it a controlling influence in all directions. All official organs, the press, schools, seminaries were to be brought as far as possible under the influence of the organization, and princes themselves were to be surrounded by a legion of enlightened literary men. A complete transformation would thus be effected. Public opinion would be controlled. It is said that 1846 and 1850 at the University of Michigan, all the fraternities that had sprung from Phi Beta Kappa were called a giant evil. And yet, John Addison Porter, private secretary to President McKinley, states the most prominent characteristic of American undergraduate social life is the college fraternity. Why did the men who founded Phi Beta Kappa believe its creation necessary? And why were all the offsprings of Phi Beta Kappa considered a giant evil? Where did the idea for the Phi Beta Kappa Literary Society actually originate? Albert C. Stevens, in his Cyclopedia of Fraternities, referring to Phi Beta Kappa and its offspring, states, Greek letter fraternity antedate all other existing secret societies in America except the Fraternity of Freemasonry. Phi Beta Kappa is from the Greek philosophia bio kuperutus, which means philosophy is the guide of life. Phi Beta Kappa Academic Honor Society was founded by John Heath, Thomas Smith, Richard Booker, Armistead Smith, and John Jones. Heath was the moving spirit and its first president. It is the oldest college Greek letter secret society in the United States. Membership is only granted to approximately 1% of college graduates. As such, it is considered to be the most prestigious and learned of all college honor societies. The illuminated history of Phi Beta Kappa. Hold on 1 minute. It all started on a Thursday evening, December 5th, 1776, when 5 young undergraduates had dinner in the Apollo Room at the Raleigh Tavern in Williamsburg, Virginia. They were members of the notorious Flat Hat Club organized at William and Mary College in 1750. On this particular night, however, these 5 men decided to form a secret organization patterned after that of one formed in Germany. They called it Phi Beta Kappa. It was the first American secret society bearing a Greek letter name, and it was formed in the same year Weishaupt announced his Illuminati order, 1776. Later, the order devised two signs: a salutation of the clasp of the hands, together with an immediate stroke across the mouth with the back of the same hand, and a return with the hand used by the saluted. These new gestures were for the purpose of distinguishing Phi Beta Kappa members in any foreign country or place. Soon after its formation, writes Thomas Smith, 27 governing laws were presented as proper and most conducive to the advantage of our growing fraternity. All concerns were expressed in these laws: dues and fines, meeting times, qualifications for new members, officers and their duties, conduct and restrictions, as well as the punishment for violators, the purposes of the society. A Jesuit writer says the ritual of Phi Beta Kappa typically includes an explanation of the secret signs and symbols and the meaning of the secret motto represented by the Greek letters of the fraternity. Until his initiation, the pledge is given limited knowledge of the fraternity's secrets. Only on completing a period of probation is he permitted to take his initiation. It is during the initiation that the candidate takes his final oaths to the fraternity and is given additional signs and the secret brother's password. Many of the college fraternities have adopted the same rituals and constitutions in imitation of the Masonic model. The spring 2005 new member education program of Alpha Delta Phi states of its parent organization, Phi Beta Kappa, like the Masonic order, was esoteric, with a badge. Excuse me. With a badge, a grip, an oath of fidelity, a ritual, and an idealistic and spiritual purpose. The Phi Beta Kappa oath reads, I blank do swear on the holy evangelist of Almighty God, or otherwise as calling the Supreme Being, to attest this my oath, declaring that I will, with all my possible efforts, endeavor to prove true and deeply attached to this our growing fraternity, in keeping, holding, and preserving all secrets that pertain to my duty and for the promotion and advancement of its internal welfare. Okay, sorry, I had to stop for a minute and get a cough drop. Here we go. But what is the real antecedent of this literary Masonic society? Henry Wade Rogers, writing in that 2005 Spring Program Bulletin, hints at a most interesting connection between the formation of Phi Alpha Kappa in 1776 and the Illuminati Literary Society set up by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt. The Greek letter societies of the American universities are secret organizations of brotherhoods who form these brotherhoods for literary and social purposes. The oldest of these organizations, the Phi Beta Kappa, was established as early as 1776. I note here that the FHC Society was in fact the precursor to Phi Beta Kappa. The year 1776 was the very year that the Jesuit-trained Adam Weishaupt founded the Order of the Illuminati. Weishaupt, you will recall, wrote, "A learned or literary society is best suited to our purpose." What significance is this to Phi Beta Kappa? In the above-mentioned Spring Program Bulletin, Henry Wade Rogers states, the large place these organizations have come to occupy in the American universities can be inferred from the fact that there are now more than 800 chapters of these societies in our colleges, and that their total membership, including their alumni, is more than 100,000. Rogers goes on to make a subtle but direct link between the German Illuminated Literary Society and the American college fraternities. He states, In Germany, birthplace of Weishaupt's order, and American student societies form an important feature of university life. These organizations influence in no small degree the daily life of their members. It was a period when literary societies of an exclusive and secret nature were being formed. The origin of this movement are not easy to trace, partly because the members could not disclose some of the mysteries, but Baird's Manual of American College Fraternities presents the bare facts. Baird suggests that the model for all three was Phi Beta Kappa, established on December 5th, 1776. Originally, Phi Beta Kappa, like the Masonic order, was esoteric, with a badge, a grip, an oath of fidelity, a ritual, and an idealistic and spiritual purpose. In the interval between 1776 and 1821, literary societies grew in importance. The Alpha Beta Phi, an offshoot of Phi Beta Kappa, speech given to the new college students ends by telling the new recruits that if they honor the Kappa fraternity, the older brothers would honor and reward them. Membership in Alpha Delta Phi is a lifelong experience. If you are understanding, your attention will be rewarded. You will win the friendship of an older brother, and that friendship may be of great value to you. Treat each alumnus as a brother who is in part responsible for the opportunities that you are experiencing and for opportunities you may receive in the future. Extraordinary. Those who are understanding are promised rewards by means of opportunities they may receive in the future. The same 2005 spring program also states the crescent, an Islamic symbol, is our coat of arms. Indeed, the very first song taught to the new members of Alpha Delta Phi is There's Beauty in Yon Crescent Moon. And from 1880 to 1885, the Executive Council published a magazine called The Star and Crescent. This was superseded by another magazine, XAIPE. It's XAIPE. However, the undergraduate newsletter, originally called the Field General, was changed in 1980 to the Star and Crescent. Is there an Islamic theme here? The choice of the word Phi in Phi Beta Kappa and Delta and Alpha Delta Phi is also very interesting. In the occult understanding of the cosmos, Phi is the mathematical principle of the pentacle, the divine portion, sacred geometry, or golden mean, used by both the ancient Greeks and Egyptians for designing their buildings and monuments. The golden mean is intimately tied to the pentagon and five-pointed star, the symbol used by those who practice Wicca, witchcraft. All of the above literary societies or sororities are Masonic. As Albert Stevens observed, some of the better-known college fraternities give unmistakable evidence to those of their members in a position to judge of having been rummaged in the bureau drawers of Freemasonry, the Templars, Knights of Malta, and other orders, while the earlier Alpha Delts were evidently inspired by what they knew of Royal Art Masonry. Bill Clinton and other learned agents of the Great Secret Society. Notwithstanding Phi Beta Kappa being called a giant evil, this has not detracted from its appeal. Famous members include William Howard Taft, founder of Skull and Bones, George H.W. Bush, Nelson Rockefeller, John D. Rockefeller Jr., Alger Hiss, Henry Kissinger, Pat Robertson, Senator Joseph Lieberman, Eliot Spitzer, Condoleezza Rice, Bill Clinton, and Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Samuel Alito, former Chief Justices William Rehnquist and John Marshall, and the current Chief Justice John Roberts. All of these justices, except John Marshall, are Catholics. Earlier, I promised to furnish proof of Bill Clinton's Masonic membership and affiliations. Here it is. From a notice posted in the Jerusalem Post, November 1994, by the Grand Lodge of the State of Israel. You will see it is addressed to the Masons of Peace, Yitzhak Rabin, Prime Minister of Israel, King Hussein of Jordan, and the Honorable Bill Clinton, President of the United States. This advertisement, as you can see, refers to President Bill Clinton as one of the Masons of Peace and ends with warm fraternal congratulations, and is signed Ephraim I don't know how to say that word. Fuchs. It's Fuchs. We'll leave it there. President of Israel Order of Masons. Not only is Bill Clinton a high-ranking Freemason, a Rhodes Scholar, Phi Beta Kappa, and an ex-Yale Law School dropout, Yale is the headquarters of Skull and Bones, and his alma mater is Georgetown University, the first Jesuit university in America. Impeccable credentials for any good double agent of the great secret society. But why should it matter to us whether or not people, particularly our leaders, are Freemasons or belong to one of the many literary societies? Why should we care if people like Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, George Bush, Barack Obama, whose presidential running mate, Joseph R. Biden, is a staunch Roman Catholic? Yeah, and he's our president today. And Condoleezza Rice and members of the Phi Beta Kappa, Alpha Beta Kappa, or Skull and Bones. Well, according to the eminent Freemason Arthur Edward Waite, it is because these secret societies frequently determine in the depths, i.e. behind the scenes, the changes that take place on the surface. Moreover, virtually every one of the literary societies or sororities at American universities are offsprings of that giant evil called Phi Beta Kappa, which was formed as an American echo of Adam Weishaupt's conspiratorial Illuminati order. These societies require that their members take oaths pledging allegiance to organizations other than the state or country of their domicile. Now, down here in the footnote, I just want to read it real quick if I could. This is what it says. His son, speaking of Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, 38, is a longtime federal lobbyist for the Jesuit University located in his father's hometown, Scranton, Pennsylvania. According to federal disclosures, Hunter Biden has been earning about $80,000 a year since 2006 to lobby for this university. Senator Biden, now president, himself has lectured at the Jesuit University of Scranton and received an honorary degree from the same university in 1976. As to Mr. Obama, see the end of this chapter. Even he is under the influence of the Jesuits. Then it says down here, a known Masonic order that uses blood oaths and ritual initiations in which one of the characters overseeing the initiation is dressed as the Pope. Like Weishaupt's Illuminati, new members of Skull and Bones are assigned secret names denoting their function within the order, such as Long Devil and Boaz, short for Beelzebub. Wow, that is insane. And that was talking about the Skull and Bones. Okay, let me continue. On July 4th, 1798, Timothy DeWitt, president of Yale University, warned the people of New Haven about the Illuminati's use of American politics, religion, and education to further their sinister ends. I don't know what they're barking at. Okay, sorry. There we go. Shall we introduce them into our government, our schools, our families? Shall our sons become the disciples of Voltaire, a French Jesuit-trained writer, and the dragoons of Marat, or our daughters, the concubines of the Illuminati? Unfortunately, many of the leading families of America have become disciples of Illuminism through the system of college sororities or fraternities, the most prominent characteristic of American undergraduate social life. But Albert C. Stevens reminded us all of the college fraternities have been extensively borrowed from Freemasonry. Here's the full text of his earlier quote. Some of the better-known college fraternities give unmistakable evidence to those of their members in a position to judge of having been rummaged in the bureau drawers of Freemasonry. Odd Fellowship, Forestry, the Templars, Knights of Malta, and other orders for ritualistic finery. Zeta Psi was founded by Freemasons. Delta Psi, Columbia, 1847, was dressed up by someone who had access to rituals of the bastard Masonic rites of Mizraim and Memphis. Psi Upsilon hung its harp low on the tree of symbolic masonry, while its offspring, Theta Delta Chi, went far afield and returned from the phoristic legend, while the earlier Alpha Delts were evidently inspired by what they knew of Royal Arch Masonry and the Red Cross decree, as confirmed in Commanderies of Masonic Knights Templar. Sadly, however, as Stevens writes on page 15 of this book, I don't know if he means page or chapter, the Encyclopedia of Fraternities, very few among the 6 million members of nearly 300 secret societies, fraternities, and sisterhoods in the United States are familiar with the origin or history of these organizations, and yet a little research will reveal that these college fraternities are the legacy of the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt, founder of the Bavarian Illuminati. How profound was the observation of French historian Louis Blanc when he wrote, Weishaupt was one of the profoundest conspirators who have ever existed. And lest the reader is inclined to think highly of this fact of leaders like Bill Clinton and others belonging to these Masonic organizations, I share a statement from the respected Masonic professor Manly P. Hall. Hall writes, when a Mason learns the seething energies of Lucifer are in his hands, and before he may step onward and upward, i.e., before he is allowed to progress to the higher Masonic degrees, he must prove his ability to properly apply that energy. Yes, that is what Manly Hall says about Freemasonry, of which Bill Clinton is a member. And that's not all. There is also proof which suggests that Bill Clinton was a deep-cover CIA agent in the late 1960s while at Oxford University, and that his handler was none other than the CIA's London bureau chief, Cord Meyer. But more on that in chapter 37. Before we move on, I promised in the footnote on page 181 to say more about President Barack Obama. Here it is, for what it's worth. Obama's going to change it. Obama's going to lead them. We're going to change it and rearrange it. The above was sung in a grassroots music video produced by Sing for Change, showing children singing praises to Barack Obama. Now, most people know that Barack Obama worked extensively in community organizing in the 1980s. But what is not so well known, however, is that this community organizing was done when Obama was hired by a lay Catholic minister, Jerry Kelman, as lead organizer for a Chicago organization called the Developing Communities Project, which was funded by Chicago's South Side Catholic churches. What is also most interesting is that Obama's Chicago mentor, Gregory Gulizzo, was a Jesuit priest. Obama's chief speechwriter, John Favreau, is a Jesuit-trained ethics professor. Obama's senior military and foreign policy advisor, Major General J. Scott Gratian, was Jesuit-trained. And Obama's deputy communications director, Dan Pfeiffer, was Jesuit-trained. And he was chosen a Jesuit-controlled Joe Biden, I told you all, as his vice president. Do you think that all of Mr. Obama's Jesuit connections and selections were mere coincidences? Have you wondered why the other side ran a corpse and a hockey mum against him to ensure his victory? Reader, what is yet to come will, at first, leave you nonplussed, even unnerved, alarmed, puzzled, mystified, bewildered, and baffled. But I promise you that it will all be made clear at the end. Whoa. That makes you want to keep going, doesn't it? All right, brothers and sisters. Oh, my goodness. Keep your eyes on Jesus. I tell you what now, things are getting deep here. And your nose in the book, which is the Word of God. And let us embed the Word of God upon the tablets of our hearts, so you and I will not sin against God or be deceived. You have a great night. Bye-bye.